And there is the signing, of course.
Yes.
We think back on the week that was, and Connor McDavid jumps to mind. The $100 million man, 100 points last year, Art Ross, Ted Lindsay, and of course, the Hart Trophy. That deal sending shockwaves, and understandably so.
It did, because we hadn't seen one this big. I mean, when you're the biggest and you go above, what, Taves and Kane are 10.5.
AAV.
And he's 12.5?
Right.
Almost 20% over that. And if anyone deserves it, to him. But really start looking, and this is the number that matters. Percentage of the cap that you are using up. Because as the salary cap's gone up, so should the salaries accordingly. So when Sidney Crosby, the guy that Connor McDavid is most often compared to, when he signed his first contract out of his entry-level deal, it was a 5-year contract for $8.7 per year. We know why that is the case, but it was 17.3% of the cap ceiling. Connor McDavid, $12.5 million, 16.7%, actually less of the cap being taken up by Connor McDavid than Sidney Crosby did with his deal. And I think that is the comparison that really is timely. Yes, the actual top dollar raises eyebrows, gets a few smiles and a few question marks around the league. But when you're talking about how do you build a team, how do you build a winner with guys making as much money as these guys are, you look back to percentage of cap taken up. And that's where the Crosby one is actually more than what Connor McDavid just took down. So the idea that maybe he's put Edmonton in an untenable position is actually not right, because Sidney Crosby didn't do that for Pittsburgh. History has shown that. Crosby wasn't accused of that. And probably Connor McDavid shouldn't be either.
And unselfishness is a word we hear used with both guys. That's something that is so much a part of the fiber of the game of hockey. You have a strong opinion on this that surprised me. Please share.
Well, I think there is a sentiment in hockey specifically as a sport that the star player, the guy who makes the most, the guy who's worth the most, it's incumbent upon him to take a little bit less than what he can to allow the team to do other things. That somehow the guy who makes the most should therefore give up $1 million a year or $2 million a year so that the team can add other players. At no point does anyone ever suggest, what about the mid-range player? In this case, in Edmonton's case, did anyone say, hey, Andre Sekera, you make 5.5. Why don't you take 4.5? Leave the team to have other good defensemen. Hey, Milan Lucic, you're making 6. Why don't you make 5? That doesn't occur to anyone else but the best player. And I know part of it's because some of the best players have done it. Sidney Crosby probably has done that. Connor McDavid has done it. But I don't like the idea that there's any external pressure, criticism, anything for any player taking less than what he can get. And of all the players who deserve the money, it's the best player. Now, I wasn't the best player, so I'm glad when they do that, because it would usually leave lying around, more lying around for me. But if anyone deserves to get the most, it's guys like Crosby and McDavid. And if it's anyone that you should ask as an organization to trim a little bit here and there to make the team work, it's not your best player, it's all the other players. But that doesn't happen. And so that mentality that seems to only exist in hockey culture, that somehow it's expected. Now, I get why it's applauded, and I get why it's appreciated by organizations, but that it's expected somehow by teams and fans, I don't like that, because it's not fair, it's not right, and the guy you're asking to do it is the guy who deserves the most money in the end anyways.
The first selection of the 2017 NHL Draft belongs to the New Jersey Devils.
With our first selection in the 2017 entry draft, the New Jersey Devils are proud to welcome Nico Hischier.
Family goes through a multitude of emotions, and then you think about what's at stake here and what this means to Swiss hockey.
It feels awesome. I can't describe the feelings.
He's got this dedication and this commitment that makes him a coach's dream.
He is a delightful young man. Great attitude, the skills, obviously. Had a great conversation with Bob Motzko. He was asked, obviously, because of what he saw from Hischier during the World Juniors. He said, I don't know about Patrick, but that guy's really good. That's analysis from a guy who tried to coach against him. What's your take on Hischier to the Devs?
Well, I think it's pretty neat in an era where guys are scouted so much, and it seems like guys are slotted where they will fall in the draft pretty early, multiple years ahead of their draft, that this was a year where a guy played so well.
Unreal.
And played so well at the biggest stages that he rocketed up the draft rankings from, maybe a mid-round pick a year ago all the way to first. That just doesn't happen. And I love the story of it. I love that he's a Swiss-born player that haven't had that before, and that he played huge against better teams, against Canada, against the United States, the World Junior, and he seemingly carried his team against those deeper, more talented teams. I love all those things for a guy to make that kind of climb all the way to the top. It's unusual, and it's a great story. Listen, high-end offensive dynamic players, we know those are the hardest thing to acquire in the NHL. Mm-hmm. You can't build them. You can't really trade for them. You don't get to sign them. Mm-hmm. You really just get to draft them. And I think that's what New Jersey has a chance of acquiring in Nico Hischier, is a guy that can be a dynamic, game-changing #1 center, pair up maybe with Taylor Hall in the future, and just be a guy that can really anchor that #1 line and be a point-producing offensive dynamo. They're hard to get. They're not many around, and that's what they're hoping they got in Nico Hischier.
And here are the notable offseason additions for the Devils. Brian Boyle from that 03 draft class. What a busy offseason it has been already for Ray Shero. Mojo from the Washington Capitals. Marco Mueller from the San Jose Sharks. As we look at what Boyle said after coming to the Devils, it jumped off of Twitter. Corey Schneider was a huge reason I signed with the Devils. And we welcome in Brian Boyle. Explain first things first, why Corey Schneider was a big reason for you signing with New Jersey.
Well, Corey and I have been friends for a number of years, and he's obviously a close friend of mine. His wife and my wife get along great. They're friends, but more so, it's just the fact that a quality player that he is, and that's the most important position. I think that he's an important ingredient in a team's success. He's had a tremendous amount of success in this league, and as a building block to start off, I mean, he's a great guy to have. So I mean, it's just exciting to be able to play with your buddies and all that. You make a lot of friends playing in the league. It's always a lot of fun, but it's a lot more fun when you can win and put together a good team and be competitive. And that was why it was important to me. I know he's a #1 goalie in the league, and again, he's had a great career, and he's going to continue to have a great career. And I'd love to be able to play with him some more.
That makes sense, Brian. He is a very good goalie. You've kind of established yourself as a player who can play important roles on good teams, successful teams, the Rangers, Tampa, Toronto. You jump right in and you find a spot to help teams win. So saying all that, what about beyond Corey Schneider, the New Jersey Devils, makes you think it's a good fit for you with the Devils?
Well, I think the way, when it comes to free agency, I've done it twice. But you see a team that you played against, and you remember, what kind of team that is. It's a hard team to play against. There's a potential for some success there, and obviously it was a bit of a lean year last year for the club. But I think the way that John Hines is coaching that team, the way that you come out of that rink in Newark feeling like you couldn't get a whole lot done offensively when you're playing against them. I think they play the right way. I think they can defend, and they're a hard-working team. And that's something that I can do. That's something that I want to do, and it's exciting for me because I think they've made some acquisitions. Obviously, as you just mentioned, it's an exciting time right now because it's a team on the rise, and I've been a part of a team where the expectations have been a little bit lower than what they were in the dressing room from the outside. And it's always great to kind of make a name for yourself in that regard, to surprise some people.
Brian, do you find it difficult when you change teams and you're brought in to provide some of that leadership to step in right away into that kind of role because you're still trying to figure out exactly how you fit with everyone else as a new guy? How do you manage that transition to a new team, but also as a veteran leader on that new team?
Well, yeah, you go to a new team, it's like, you're the new kid at school, it's your first day, and you don't know how you're going to fit in terms of how you'd be received by the guys. I think you can worry about that, or you can just be yourself and be a good person. I think that's. Mm-hmm. I think leadership is more involved with your actions and how you, like I was saying before, how you prepare for games, how you handle kind of adversity when teams are going through rough patches. individuals are going through rough patches. I think that's where leadership is really important. It's easy when everybody's winning, you have fun and you don't think about anything. But it's kind of when the team's tested, the character of the team kind of comes out. When you get to a new team, if your role changes a little bit, you can't be barking out orders if you're playing on the fourth line in 8 to 10 minutes. But again, you can prepare for each game. You can. There's guys that are out of the lineup that might be young. They can watch, see what you're doing after games to stay ready in case your minutes go up. Just things like that. It doesn't necessarily ever have to be a whole lot of talk.
With your character and skill as the new kid, you're going to be well liked. Have fun with the Devs. We're looking forward to watching you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Oh, our pleasure. What about Philly's D, the guys that are going to be playing in front of him? I loved your point about Hextall, the seal of approval from Ron Hextall. That's significant in that position. What about the D?
The D have been an issue for a while for Philadelphia, and they've been trying to bring in new bodies, bring in new blood, and let them play well. And some of these young guys, so you see the guys with the dashes or number 50s, like they're relatively new to the NHL. Provorov's the guy, though. Provorov's the best player on this defense. He's going to be a future leader, letter wearer for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think as he goes, so will go the Philadelphia Flyers defense corps. So I think he's only going to get better. He's such a physically dynamic player. He can play a physical game. He can score. He can get up in the rush. He can do everything you want to do. Plays with an edge and attitude that the fans in Philadelphia will appreciate. Oh, yeah. So you have him. You like Gostisbehere, a little 1-2 punch that he can provide offensively. Can Sanheim or Morin develop into something? You know, Gudas and McDonald are known commodities, but some of those other young guys who heard about him for a long time, it was Gostisbehere, it was Provorov, it was Sanheim, it was Morin. Those were the four kind of cornerstone defensemen that they had coming up. Well, now they all might be here.
Right.
And how good can they be? Gostisbehere's been pretty good. Provorov's maybe even better than that.
Real deal, yeah.
Can the other two guys be what those first two were? If they can, then Philly's going to be very good. Maybe not this year, but going into the future beyond, they'll be in great shape.
What about the captain, Claude Giroux? It was just a couple seasons ago, the two highest scoring teammates were Jake Voracek and Claude Giroux. He didn't look right last year. The numbers were down. What about him?
Well, I don't think he ever was right from the World Cup. I mean, he wasn't playing in the World Cup for Canada, even though he's practicing, and he was injured at that point. And you're wondering, well, if you're injured, maybe you shouldn't be playing at this point. But he stayed with it, and he fought the groin, core, hernia stuff throughout the whole year, and he's got to get going because Philadelphia's issue is they can't score 5-on-5. And look where they rank.
Whoa.
They're too good to be amongst that group 5-on-5. And Claude Giroux has to be the catalyst for the offense 5-on-5. We know their power play is fantastic, even without Braden Shen, who's gone on to St. Louis. With Wayne Simmonds and Gostisbehere and Voracek and Giroux. Power play's fine. But 5-on-5, Claude Giroux has to be the guy who drives the offense. And Philadelphia is hoping that him being healthy will allow him to do that. Full summer of training, good health, get back to the player that he was a couple years ago because he's their most important forward to cure that 5-on-5 issue.
You just used the word healthy quickly. Nolan Patrick had a surgery in addition to all the other health concerns. Do you have worry that he's going to be okay going forward?
Well, I know Philadelphia checked him out vigorously.
Sure. On
their own, not just the NHL Combine. They trusted in his health. I am worried that the fact the kid that young has had that many surgeries and those kind of surgeries, maybe he stays healthy. They're hoping that he does. If he can, he'll be a great player.
That's Brian Elliott. Cool that he talked about starting the family. Yeah. These players are people too.
Yes.
And that's a pretty cool chapter.
Yeah, and the fact that he wanted to get to a team that will allow him to be home more often.
Absolutely.
And it really is a stark difference between playing in the West for a team like Calgary and the amount of travel you get to do when you're in the Northeast corridor and you're taking buses and trains. So it is very, very different for him. But I did like him acknowledging, like, he thought it'd be easy to get to a new team. He thought he could just slide in there and play normally, and you can't. He had more work to do. He's willing to have learned that, dig in to find out the information, because the second half of last year, he was good.
He came on.
He played the way that Calgary wanted to play. Yes, the playoffs didn't go exactly the way they wanted to, but as far as the regular season went, the last 3 months, he was excellent, the kind of goaltending that Philadelphia is counting on.
The resilience of Brian Elliott's making him a long-term vet and a recent addition to the Philadelphia Flyers, signing a 2-year, $5.5 million contract, one of the notable moves in the offseason for Philadelphia. Yours is a remarkable story as we welcome Brian to the show. 28 goalies were picked ahead of you in the 03 draft, and here you are all these years later, still a thriving pro. What has allowed you to have such longevity and sign this deal?
I don't know. I kind of attribute everything to the work ethic and just the drive to get there. I mean, when you're drafted in a round that doesn't exist anymore, I think the odds are against you a little bit. So,
Yep.
Just every time you're out on the ice in the gym, you just work that extra little bit harder, and it hasn't stopped me yet. So I keep pushing.
Brian, signing with Philly, their GM is Ron Hextall. Does the GM-player negotiation dynamic change any bit when the guy doing it is a goalie the caliber that Ron Hextall was?
But I mean, you get a little starstruck at first when you're on the phone that you're talking to him. But I grew up kind of in the era when he was playing his best, and I was just starting to get in all the goalie gear and get excited about goaltending. So yeah. Definitely cool to have a guy like him, really say, we'd love to have you on this team, and we think you'd be a good addition. And, it's hard to say no when a guy like that comes calling.
Yeah, and it's hard to say no when you think back to what he could do fighting from that position, whether it's puck handling or saves or skating. He had all the tools. What made this the most appealing option for you?
We started a family last year in Calgary, and he was born October 2nd, right before the season, and with how long we were out on the road, it got tough. And I think coming to the East, and especially Philadelphia, they're so close. All the road games and division games. You're home a lot earlier, you're home a lot more, and I wanted to be there for my family and see my son grow up. But I think it's easier on the body as well, and they're obviously a great team, and going to a team that, has the caliber of guys that they do, and is the organization that kind of has the history that Philadelphia has, it's hard to say no to. So I wanted to be part of it and put on that orange jersey. I've always been jealous of those jerseys. So, it's exciting to get in one.
Brian, you touched on it briefly. You had a baby right at the beginning of the season last year. The season probably didn't start the way you exactly wanted to. What lessons did you learn about transitioning to a new city with your family, to a new team as a player, that maybe you can apply this time to Philadelphia to make it a little bit smoother right at the start?
Yeah, I probably thought it would be a little easier to slide into a new system, new coach, and the way that I've always played. It takes a little bit of time. It takes some work and a lot of communication with you guys in front of you. So I want to go into this year really hit the ground running and talk a lot about penalty kill, in zone defense, just a lot of the things that they do, and try to get it going early on this summer and really know what I have to walk into and be prepared for it. I didn't do myself any services just trying to go out there and pretend like every other year. So I learned and excited to work on that and hit the ground running when I get into Philly.
Well, we are looking forward to watching you play for the Flyers. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to get there.
While some people are worried about carbs, not the Jackets. They're going for carbs. The Bread Man coming to town alongside Tyler Mott and a 2017 sixth-round pick. Brandon Saad, Anton Forsberg, and a fifth-rounder going the other way. It was a trade that sent shockwaves. We are thrilled to be joined by the general manager that made the deal, Jarmo Kekalainen. It was a banner year for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and then this on the eve of the draft. What are you expecting from Artemi Panarin with Columbus?
Well, we were looking for an explosive, exciting offensive player, a game breaker who can score goals at key times, and also a guy who fits well in our power play. And I think we got one in Artemi Panarin, and he's proven in the past 2 years that he is one of the best scorers in the league, one of the best offensive players in the league. And we expect a lot of things out of him when he gets to Columbus. Obviously, we lost a good player in Brandon Stott, but Artemi Panarin is exactly what we were looking for.
Jarmo, some people have thought that maybe John Tortorella might have a hard time getting along with Artemi Panarin. I don't believe that. I know that John Tortorella really can thrive with his stars. What do you think about that relationship that you think will make it work so well?
I think John Tortorella is excellent in recognizing the talent in players and giving them a good chance to succeed. The only time he doesn't get along with players is when they don't want to compete and work, and I tend to agree with John Tortorella on that front.
Understood. The two-time Jack Adams winner gets the most out of his players. How about when we think about your back end? So much talent, young, gifted D-men. How much better can you get on the blue line?
Well, I guess you can always improve. There's no question about that. I think that we will improve because Zach Werenski was 19 years old last year, and he will be a year older, and he will be seasoned, wiser, and more experienced. And based on the reports that I'm getting from his off-season training, he'll be stronger and faster and quicker, too. I've seen Seth Jones in the off-season a few times. He's making big strides. He's a young man still, so I think those guys are far from their prime, and they're going to keep developing, getting better, and they're already an exciting pair, a pair that I'd compare to, I dare to compare to pretty much any pair in the league. And, Jack Johnson being one of the best athletes I've ever seen, and David Savard not old yet either, I think that all those guys can improve. And we had also an exciting rookie, Marcus Nutsivara, who had a great season, but was probably forgotten because of what Zach Werenski did all year. But he was an excellent defenseman for us last year. And Ryan Murray's, great young talent too, who can get a lot better. And he had a little bit of injury problems last year. At the end of the year, had bad luck, broke his hand. But he a couple of years ago, he was one of our best defensemen. And now Zach and Seth obviously are tough competition. So that ice time will be great to see how it's going to get divided next year, but you can always get better.
So you're set in goal, obviously, Jarmo. You have a good young core of defensemen. Every team's looking for a number one centerman. Is Alexander Wenberg going to be that for you? Can he be that good?
Well, there's another young player that can keep getting better, no question about it. He had a big improvement from the year before to last year. I believe he had 59 points and had a tremendous first half of the year, quieted down a bit in the second half, had an injury that I think affected him more than he wanted to admit to anybody in the last part of the season and into the playoffs. He's a hardworking guy who will get better for sure. Whether he can be a number one center in this league, it remains to be seen, and it's something that he will have to prove to everybody that he can be. I think he has that type of potential. So we expect big things out of Alex Wenberg, and again, I'm 100% sure that he's one of those guys that will keep improving every year.
You got big things out of Cam Atkinson. What an improvement, an all-star. What about what he brought this past season, and can he continue on that trajectory?
I believe so. Cam's 28 years old, but he's been improving every year. Every year he's been getting better and better, and he's an ambitious athlete who pushes himself hard in the off season, and 34 goals last year, and he's a big part of our offense and an explosive player. I think he'll get some interesting company here now with Artemi Panarin, and I don't know if they're going to play in the same line, but maybe in the same power play unit. And offensive players, it's interesting to see how they create that chemistry. I mean, it'll be interesting to see who will be that guy that creates the best chemistry with Artemi Panarin.
Jarmo, general managers are never satisfied. You never take a day off. So what is left for you to do? If there's anything else you could do this summer before your team gets to training camp in the fall, what else is on your docket to improve this team?
Well, we're always looking for different ways to improve our team. I think that generally we scored enough goals. last season as a team. We were deep, four-line team that scored a lot of goals from different lines. We were looking for that game breaker. I think we got that in Artemi Panarin, but we also had to deduct a player in Brandon Saad to do that. So we're still kind of in that mode that we could add a little bit of an offensive punch into our team if we find the right guy. Preferably could be a centerman. But if we don't, we're perfectly happy going into the season with our team that we have right now. Losing William Karlsson in the expansion draft, obviously a big hole to fill. But we have Boone Jenner who can play center. We get Nick Foligno who can play center, and Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to come into this year's camp challenging for a spot on the team, and he can play center. So we'll have three good candidates to fill in that hole there in our lineup, and other young talented player also to try to win a spot, and not only win a spot, but make our team better. Tyler Mata, as you mentioned, from that trade, and Sonny Milano has been playing very well for us in the American League, and I think he's ready to challenge for a spot in the NHL.
It is an exciting time for Jackets fans. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Mike Johnson, this time of year, teams are into their development camps, and skill development is the name of the game in the offseason. That's a really important element to any player's ability.
It is, and it's something that's kind of developed and changed over the course of time. It's not just now about let's get them stronger, let's get in the weight room, let's get them bigger, let's get them stronger, but it's also focusing on the skills you need to have to be successful. And one element of that, which is a relatively new occurrence, kind of the last 10, 15 years, is the skill development with the puck. I learned from watching Wayne Gretzky's Hockey My Way home video.
On VHS.
People don't know what that is, but
yes.
It's a way to watch a tape. And it was very simple, just kind of you take the puck, and you just go back and forth, nice and slow and simple, and keep in the middle of the puck and roll your wrists, and it gets you down the ice. That's how Wayne did it.
Yes.
That's how I learned how to do it.
Worked for him.
And I don't know if anyone else ever spoke to me about stick handling, puck management, puck movement with my own stick, again, for 20 years. And it really wasn't until I was 5-6 years in my NHL career. I was almost 30 years old, well established as a person who can play in the NHL relatively well. And I went to a stick handling camp full of 13 and 14-year-olds around Toronto. And they were doing things that I could not do.
Interesting.
And at that point, it dawned on me that these guys were developing skills that I don't have. And you've seen that next generation of players that have now infiltrated the league and what they can do with the puck because they've been taught. And you don't have to just go to the best players, although we're going to take a look at a few. This is Evgeny Malkin.
Good.
Watch how he's moving the puck, how quick he is, the range with which he can use it, the vision, the way he rolls it on his stick. This
Claude Giroux.
As we're trying to knock the puck off his stick.
Oh, my gosh.
But watch how he manipulates it on his blade. It's not just back and forth. He's got a little roll to his wrist. John Tavares, one of the really
pre-game
pioneers of the guys that... Now, this looks easy.
It's not.
It's not, and it's going back and forth. It's forehand and backhand. It's going backwards and forwards, in and out from your skates, as well as side to side, getting the pucks up in the air, keeping it flat so you can handle it. These are all the details that you assume are important, but when you get into a game, they can actually make the difference. This is Bobby Ryan.
Game winner.
This is Bobby Ryan in overtime of the conference final, and he goes backhand, forehand. Now, if you watch what he does, he rolls this puck off the toe of his blade, which then sets up for an immediate release of his backhand. It's different than the older school guys do it, and that's where this kind of practice comes into play. So he's not just going back and forth. He's going around. So when he pulls it, it's right there to shoot. So it's a subtle difference. When you start getting...
Whoa. Okay.
It gets smoother, it gets faster, and there's more things you can do with it. So you talk about what are they doing now? So yeah, they're in the weight room.
Yeah.
They get strong, and then they go out on the ice, and they have a skill session, and they may set up some equipment like this, and they'll say, okay, now they have skates on, so they're doing this quicker, and they're doing it with their edge as well, not just skating through it, but it's, you know, they're going back and around using the backhand and the forehand, and they're doing big toe drags both sides and trying to find ways to manipulate the puck. As you saw John Tavares, they're going backhand, forehand, and then how do you get it over tops? Yes, I need to work on these things.
Right.
And try to find ways to get it done. And they have people on the ice carving up these drills for them. And the other element we see a lot of the best players. Now, we talk about attacking the triangle. They have little units like this, cones with sticks. Triangle between the defenseman, we like to call them pylons because they're not very good, his feet and his blade. And this area right in here, It's hard to get to for a defenseman. So you'll see all kinds of drills, guys come out of the corner, going underneath, back underneath, out and around, trying to use ways to manipulate the space in that triangle.
Yep.
That is a new development.
Yep.
And these are the kind of drills that everyone's using, not just NHL players, but all the way down, 12, 13, 14, skill development guys. And it's allowing them to do better things on the ice in games. It's amazing how it does translate. Bobby Ryan's a perfect example.
Right.
There's not just some thing you do in practice and you won't use in a game. This is what you do in a game in tight spaces, create time and space for yourself. And even this week, it's prospect week, all these prospect camps going around the league. Take a look at what the Vancouver Canucks put out on their Twitter. This is off in the hallway.
Wow.
Little medicine ball type. Watch, and he's going quick. He's rolling it, heel, toe drag, back and forth on one foot, on the other foot. This is what guys do.
Oh, yeah.
This is how guys practice learning how to stick handle.
And the practical application, as you point out, this isn't just showmanship.
No.
This is about being able to do this stuff and apply it in game, the way you showed Bobby Ryan.
Yeah.
How about the shooting element of this, too? Because that's another element of the game that's different.
And it is because almost the technology allows it to be different.
Mm-hmm.
The way the sticks are, the way you can kind of program your stick, build your stick to your shot. And this might be the easiest thing to get good at, because all you got to do is do it.
And it's the name of the game.
It's repetition. It's just getting out there. So I'm going to over here. I'm a right-hand shot.
Got it.
So Sidney Crosby one year said, you know what, I want to be good at backhands. So what does he do? He goes out there one summer and he takes thousands of backhands.
He got good at them.
And now he's really good at them.
Yeah.
That kind of commitment.
Right.
And I think that's what guys do. So guys will look at slap shots. We don't take slap shots anymore.
Yeah.
Gone are the days, Mike Bossy down the wing for a big slap shot for a goal. Guys take one-timers. One-timers are the name of the game. Opening up, Patrick Laine, maybe one of the best in the business at it already. Ovechkin, of course, we've seen him. That's the shot that guys practice.
Yep.
The one-timer, because that is game applicable. This is how guys score, not just on the power play, but within the zone, opening up, finding seams, taking that one-timer. So guys will take pucks. You got pucks behind you.
Yeah, how do you get better at shooting?
You'll have someone pass you the puck, and you'll take them. And sometimes they're behind you, and sometimes they're in front of you over here.
Look at
the
us.
blue line. Whoop. And you have to,
poorly.
Oh.
No, that's on me.
So one more. And so, right? So you have to move. It's not always, generally speaking, guys want to shoot the puck. They want it right in between their feet, right? It's up, and it's right here. But that's not how it goes in a game.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's back here. Sometimes it's up here. And so guys practice those shots, those one-timers. They don't have to be on the ice with anybody else. They get little bumper pads, and it's pass the puck off the bumper.
Right.
And off you go and shoot it. It's just repetition, commitment, and doing it either on synthetic ice or real ice.
I've heard you say before that in shooting, the next stage is being able to shoot a puck on edge. That's not something that happens by accident. You have to practice that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk to goalies, some of the toughest saves are when the puck's on edge. So, yeah, I mean, it's guys being willing to, whether it's a one-timer, get a rolling puck towards them and shooting it, or if they're stick handling and it happens to pop up, be willing and able to shoot it without fanning on it, going underneath it, corral it, cradle it, and then release it properly. Again, just comes with repetition. And the other part, the way guys score now, think of the best goal scorers in the league. Slappers, yes. One-timers, yes. But it really is the snapshot that allows guys...
Quick release.
Quick release, about getting it off quickly. And this is... Austin Matthews might be the poster child for this shot.
Yes.
In the new NHL. Ovi, of course, there's TJ Oshie. It's catch, it's get it away quickly. Technology allows you to do it.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, he's not bad at all.
Golly.
But you don't have to be a big guy. Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau, these guys can shoot pucks. And this is just, again, work. So this is... You'll get in the summer, and you'll get your pile of pucks, and it's not... No, again... We go old school. When I was playing, a lot of the shots, wrist shots, were you kind of would drag it in, and you'd shoot it. That doesn't work anymore because someone's going to block it.
Yeah. If
that guy doesn't block it, the goaltender's going to block it. So now with the new technology, the whole key is how quickly you can get it released. So it's not about pulling it to get torque on your stick. It's about being strong enough that you can bend your stick out here,
whack,
and just leaning on your stick. I'm barely even strong enough. This stick's too stiff for me. Just
Vladdy Tarasenko, just whack. Yep.
Just leaning on it and going. Again. That is just practice. And I think no greater example than who's the best player offensively in the league last year? Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid.
I don't think Connor McDavid shoots as well as he can.
Really?
I think that he knows he has a hole in his game, and that's from scoring from 35 feet.
Wow.
Because why would he learn how to score from 35 feet? Because he could always stick handle right to the crease.
Sure.
But I bet this summer, Connor McDavid's not going to rest on his laurels. And he's going to go home, hit the summer rink, and take thousands of wrist shots. Because can you imagine what a threat he would be now if you have to respect the fact that he can score from 35 feet?
Yes.
How that will open up all the room in behind defenders if you can't sag off him saying, I don't believe you can score from out there.
Right.
So I'm just going to sit back here. If you know he can score like Ovi can,
that's scary.
Well, now you got to get up here.
Yeah. That opens up.
Open stuff behind him. So I think even the best players, Crosby, Tavares, McDavid, they work on this stuff, and that is what the weeks in July are for.
Arguably the most momentum that franchise has ever had. You think about the record-setting year they had last campaign, 16-game winning streak. What do they do for an encore?
Well, it's going to be very tough to match what happened last year. So much went right for them. Is there another 16-game winning streak? Unlikely. I mean, what they can really try to do is replicate. Now, they changed and tweaked their roster, as Jarmo was talking about, adding Panarin, getting a little more dynamic, trying to help their power play a little bit. Losing Brandon Saad will hurt. But I think they got a couple things that they'll bank on. One, Sergei Bobrovsky.
Healthy.
If he can stay healthy, which hasn't always been the case in his career, but if he can, well, then all of a sudden we have one of the best goaltenders in the league. And when you have one of the best goalies in the league, you're going to be competitive. So that's one thing they can hang their hat on, that they know when healthy, one of the very best goalies, the most important position in the league. That's something that will stabilize your team and prevent you from kind of going up and down, up and down. That will be good. The other part is, can all those young players, you're on touch, there's a whole bunch of important ones, whether it's Seth Jones or Zach Werenski or Alexander Wenberg. Not every player's progression is a straight line. Now, they may still end up going up, but sometimes they dip a little bit, then go up a little further. All those guys play such big roles on this team that they'll be in trouble if they take a significant step back for any reason. And so that's something to be concerned about, because you have young players that have shown they can do it, but they haven't really shown that they can do it year after year after year, which is another challenge that these guys are facing. They're all talented. That's all working in their favor. The other problem is, listen, they're in the Metro. So you're going up against Pitt, you're going up against Washington, and you're likely to play one of those two teams in the first round. So no matter how well you do, you can be another 105-point season, you're likely to play Pitt and Washington in the first round. That's a tough matchup. It's just a difficult road for them to advance in the playoffs, no matter how good their team is. So that's their challenges, but you have to like what they've done. John Tortorella, Sergei Bobrovsky, Artemi Panarin. A lot to like what's going on in Columbus right now.
Global, baby, global. The National Hockey League looking forward to the Far East. NHL China games, Kings and Canucks in Shanghai and Beijing in late September. Then, in November, in Stockholm, Sweden, it's the Global Series. Avs and Sens clashing. It's part of the ongoing theme, the global interest in the game of hockey. As the league expands and as the world gets more and more connected, we think about this date in NHL history. Devils fans know exactly who these gentlemen are. Starikov and Fetisov. On July 7, 1989, Lou Lamoriello was beaming, and why wouldn't he be? What a signing for the team. Changed the direction of the franchise, Johnny.
It did. It's very significant that the door started opening up to players from outside North America. And the game was getting bigger, more teams. It was changing the style of play, and there had to be an influx of talent. And so you had to look for places where there are talented players that weren't coming to the NHL, and there was no greater source of that than probably Russia, the old former communist countries, and that they could produce players that could come over here and play well and contribute and be thriving NHL players, regardless of whatever style and era they played for. It was a huge deal for the New Jersey Devils and for all players from that part of the country. Because you look back in 89-90, look where the players came from. Almost 75% of the NHL players, 21-team league, came from Canada.
Wow.
17%. So, you're talking about 90%.
How about
came from North America. And not many, just one Russian prior to the 89-90 season.
Oh, wow.
And then you look where they are now, Canada way down. That's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Because the United States, they've jumped way up because of the way they can develop and train high-end players. Russia has increased significantly, and which is part of the Russian influence.
Sure.
And that as the game's gone bigger, more teams, they've needed to fill out these rosters, more talented players. The game has evolved. They needed to add more skill, more speed, more creativity. A lot of that has come from players not from North America. So it's a significant day in history that the New Jersey Devils brought over a couple Russians because it started a trend which has helped the league greatly over the last 30 years.
There are great documentaries, too, about that Russian hockey program, the Red Army, whether it's 64, 68, 72, 76, 84, 88. They won the Olympic gold medal all those times because there were so many good players. They start coming over, and it's different. How about Nico Hischier going first in the draft?
Well,
Swiss.
That's just it. It's not just Russia. It's Switzerland. It's Austria. It's Slovenia. It's Germany. It's Sweden and Finland. Those teams. But it's like some of those secondary countries that maybe have sports that are far more popular than hockey. They're starting to churn out players. They're starting to turn out high-end players, and that bodes well for the future of hockey in those countries. But also for us, it bodes well for the future of hockey in the NHL. Because the more people that play, the more people that can see the game, experience it, fall in love with it, because it's easy to fall in love with, the better the entire hockey world will be, which benefits the NHL.